since the last episode, Texas had went 1-1, lost at home to Iowa State by 10 points, I believe, 9 points. On senior night, that was let's say a disappointing loss, especially on senior night at home. Third loss in the after that loss has been a third within the last 4 games. Third loss in the last 4 games. For Texas, with loss to Kansas State at home, and then Baylor on the road, and then now Iowa State. And they went to TCU on Tuesday, got a win there, good confidence booster, and then they're focusing on the Big 12 tournament as of right now. They left for OKC yesterday, late afternoon, I believe, according to Twitter and and their first game will be on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, I believe, against number 6 seed in the Big 12 TCU one more time. Now let's go back to the ISU game. That game was let's say bad. Gave up 82 points, not good defensively. A lot of the points came in the first quarter, especially the first half of the first quarter, where Iowa State just took off, was making every shot they could, and Texas was the direct opposite of that, just couldn't make any shots, and at one point, Iowa State was up 30-10 early in the second quarter, and that was just, disappointing start for Texas. I think, they probably were distracted by the whole senior night ceremony. I knew the senior night ceremony, I was still covering it. So, by the time it ended, there were about, let's say 7 minutes left in the warm-up period, like before the game, and it was an emotional night. It's the first time I've seen Danny Williams being so emotional. Obviously, Jatari White and Barawa are very important for this team, and they went to locker room maybe for a pep talk by Karen Aston. They came out very quickly, did not do any final warm-ups because they're running out of time, and most likely because of the senior night ceremony. And then national anthem, player intro, and then boom, we're running the game. And then when I was sitting down, I was sitting on the court side ready to film, and then by 30 seconds into the game, I was still rethinking the ceremony, still emotional about it, and being covering this team for this at least half the season, still emotional about it, thinking, these seniors, but let's have a good senior night for them and all that, and then like 2 or 3 minutes into the game, I was like, oh crap, Texas actually, besides senior night, they really need to win this game. It took me a couple of minutes of game time to realize how important this game was for Texas. I have to go back and go, I have to wait till the emotions go away and stuff. And I think Karen Aston may have talked about during the pep talk, saying, hey, the ceremony is over, let's focus on the game. But I can't imagine, especially the seniors, putting all of that behind after such an emotional, 3 or 4 minutes where the lights are off, the lights are just on them, and then everybody was clapping for them and all that, and then just a couple minutes, very shortly afterwards, they're on in the game with Iowa State, looking to punch you in the mouth, and then leave Austin with the win and get the number 2 seed in the Big 12 tournament. I thought that might have distracted the team a little bit, with against a young team that probably some of them, for a lot of them, the first time they've been in this ceremony and all that, and maybe the emotions caught up a little bit. But man, you can't. I don't know if that explains 36.8% field goal percentage and 20% from the 3-point line. They just couldn't put the ball in the basket. It wasn't as bad as the Baylor road game in Waco, but you know, when they needed the bucket, when they finally, pulled the game within a 7-point, deficit, they just couldn't, take that final stride and then put tie up the game. And then Iowa State might be, a little panicked, and then maybe things would turn around. But they never got into that, they never let Iowa State to go into that panic moment or panic mode where, oh crap, we just gave up a 15-point lead. No, they, Texas went on like 7-point run, and then that was it. And then Iowa State would bounce back straight away. To be fair, Iowa State didn't play, magnificently either. They shot 39.3% from the field, 35% behind the arc. Still have 17 turnovers and 15 assists, 17 turnovers. Not a great game for Iowa State, but again, they're on the road at Texas. For them, coming out of the game with that strong of a start, really, it's confidence booster for this team, and Texas just couldn't respond. Texas 3 of 15 from the 3-point line. One good sign though from Texas is 25 free throw attempts. I think that really showed that Texas was really aggressive and emotional, but again, just couldn't make that final stride. Couldn't complete the play when they needed it, and Iowa State was the exact opposite. They just completed enough plays for them to stay relatively comfortable throughout the game. I think that's the big difference between Iowa State and Texas in that game. And again, Texas is going to look at a 22-8 regular season record. Not great. Certainly good enough to make the tournament, but not great, not enough to host any games in the NCAA tournament. So for a lot of Texas women's basketball fans, a little bit disappointing season, but got to put it into perspective. 22-win season, making the tournament, still have a shot at making damage in the tournament. I'm going to talk about that later, but they're going to play on the road now they're not playing any games at home now. Lost 3 out of the last 5. That really was a momentum. Maybe it could be a momentum stopper, but at the same time, look, the regular season is over. They hit the reset button, and they can go into the Big 12, go and get a good result in the tournament, maybe go into the finals, and hit the reset button again for the NCAA tournament when they face basically teams they've never seen this year before. So maybe they get, they could. Silver lining, they have a very, very good record on the road. 9-2 on the road. One of them is against Baylor. Really good. Really consistent on the road. Maybe that's a plus for Texas when they go into somebody else's house for the tournament. Maybe. The confidence booster at Fort Worth, definitely big deal for Texas. Again, they lost 3 of the last 4 before going into the TCU game. Got the TCU, grabbed that win, and that was one of those games where it's not a game where you can not after the first quarter the game is over kind of game, but 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the game is under control for Texas, and that is great to see as a fan, and as some Texas have been struggling to put the game away or to complete the plays that they need to catch up, like I said just earlier. And in that TCU game, they did exactly that. They kept the lead. They pulled away when they needed to. Or when TCU was on a run, they pulled away when Texas pulled away when they needed to. And by when there are 3 or 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the game is over, and that is a good sign for Texas. Good game to carry into the postseason. And they will face TCU again on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. In the quarterfinals. Texas is in as the 3rd seed. They will play the winner of Iowa State and or the winner of Oklahoma State and Kansas. So Oklahoma State and Kansas will play the first round on Friday, and the winner of that game will face Iowa State in the quarterfinals, and the winner of that game will face the winner of Texas and TCU. So if the seedings hold up, Texas will face Iowa State in the semifinals. Great news for Texas to stay on the other side of the bracket, the opposite side of the bracket of Baylor. Iowa State is still a beatable team, especially Texas beat them on the road this year. Beatable team, definitely. And if they can get into the finals, again, just be competitive against Baylor. Good. It's a good momentum booster for Texas going into the tournament, into the NCAA tournament. They're not going to host games this year, which will be sad, but they can still, if they can get a good seeding in the tournament, and then, go and demolish the first round and, win the second round at, away against the top 16, supposedly top 16 team in their house, and return to the Sweet 16. That will be a super big win for the 2018-2019 women's basketball team at Texas, because again, even especially after LaShawn Hicks went down, that this team is a rebuilding process. It's a rebuilding team for the next couple of seasons, especially next season. And if you can achieve the same result you did last year, that is a great, basically you're saying we're starting at Sweet 16 right now. And that is a good sign for Texas. I won't be surprised if they lose in the second round, but if they can get back to the Sweet 16, that'll be a great win, a great result, and that can salvage this season for women's basketball. Again, 22-8 is not bad at all in terms of if you compare it to the nationwide, but Karen Aston has established an expectation at Texas where you should be competitive. You should be in that conversation, at least top 16 every single year, and they're not close. They were not close this year. They can definitely salvage it if they return to the Sweet 16. That's it for Texas women's basketball. Let's move over to Jonathan's interview.